If my taste buds are set in stone to enjoy pizza instead of spaghetti, is that preferred of me, or is that just the way that my taste buds were?
I would argue
there's like 7 other areas inside of Isaiah where Israel is referred to as a servant of the Lord. Yeah, I'm pretty sympathetic to deism. I think deism is pretty possible. I've considered deism before.
Never have muted anyone.
I don't know, bro. How would I know?
That is not hit. That is not what's his face.
Well, have you ever gotten a chat? Have you ever?
That is Dean.
Overtalked or got into a shouting match with him?
I know Dean. I was just watching you and Charlie Kirk.
Hey, what's going on, man?
That's actually Dean. That he's verified. Well, Dean, you hopped in the Christian chat, and you say you're not a Christian. What's your top reasons, if you were to list a few, for not believing in Christianity or maybe not believing in God or anything like that?
Well, I feel like the main reason is that I've never been given a compelling argument that Christianity is true. But there's secondary reasons. I haven't debated theism in a while, but I want to get back into it. I'd say
Have you heard of the book Science Speaks?
Book Science Speaks. I've never heard of it. No.
You should look into it.
What's that? Yeah, convince me that I should be Christian.
It was basically a guy, and he went through how impossible it would be to Jesus to fulfill so many prophecies, even if they were even just to forge it. Even forging it would be basically impossible.
I never got too deep into the text of the Bible, which would include prophecies which were fulfilled or not fulfilled. But from the little research I did do, I was actually unconvinced that he fulfilled any.
I would, for that argument, I would employ you to look at Isaiah 53, if you haven't already. Isaiah 53 in the Bible is a text that was written at least a couple hundred years before Jesus ever existed. And you can put it, you don't even have to look it up on Google, you can look at the side chat here. 53.
I know about that chat. This one's also good. I found out this the other day too. 53. I'll post it in chat.
Yeah, but Isaiah 53 wasn't even about a Messiah, so come on.
Yeah, some people try to say that it was actually about the nation.
Jews?
Yeah, the strongest
That's
theory
what the Jews
against.
do.
Yeah,
well, no, Isaiah says it's about. Isaiah says the suffering servant is Israel.
It says that the best argument that I've heard is that the suffering servant is Israel. But however, there are several times in the text where it references a he or references a lamb, and what you wouldn't. No point is
that's
the
very
lamb.
common.
Yeah, no point is a lamb ever referred to as a group of people, but only instead as a one person.
It's salvation, and Joshua means salvation. It's been debated a bunch of times.
Yeah, it's super common in ancient Near Eastern. Yeah, and so in ancient Near Eastern poetry, it's super common to refer to a nation as an individual when you're speaking poetically, because they like to personify the nation. I mean, it's also even in the passages where the servant is called out as Israel, it is also interchangeably referred to as Jacob, because they are personifying both Israel and Jacob is essentially kind of like they're aligning those ideas to be kind of the same thing.
What do you think about this one though?
Isaiah 9:6.
Which one?
Isaiah 9:6, which says
I posted on the bottom.
Yeah, that's clearly not talking about Jesus.
It's talking about a child born, a son is given, and they will call him Mighty God. Who else could that be talking about?
Probably Nebuchadnezzar. I think is one of the kings.
They try to use it as one of the kings, but a king would never be called Everlasting Father, Mighty God. They would never say that about a king.
Yeah, no, they would say that about a king. So yeah, names were really important. To the ancient Hebrew people, and there, I mean, you can go through the Bible and just see how many times they call out names and multiple versions of the names, because that also tied into like numerology, where they took the numbers of the names, and did interesting math to show why it was holy or why it was important, and so those terms are just these wonderful names to show how important this king was, how mighty he was, how holy he was, and how great his authority should be. But there's no indication that it's actually referring to a Messiah.
And I don't agree with your explanation. I've read a lot into it, and I think that explanation is way weaker.
Okay,
using Occam's razor, it's way more likely they're talking about Jesus.
Okay, but like, okay. The thing is that the prior verses in Isaiah 9 are talking about where is it? I'm gonna pull it up.
What's
So
the
yes,
final verses? What does that mean?
the previous verses that lead into it.
No, Dean sent it in chat. He sent a Bible bot.
Oh yeah, no. There's like 7 other areas inside of Isaiah where Israel is referred to as a servant of the Lord.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Look.
Yeah, yeah. So typically,
This
atheists
is
that
my
are pretty
list
well read,
too.
see no question about the servant being the state of Israel because of the 7 other references. I think I dropped five in the chat.
I just dropped a couple more in the chat.
Holy.
Too many commas.
I mean, I'd have to look into it more.
I think that my main problems with the Christian God go down to an incompatibility of certain traits. I'm pretty convinced that if we had an all good,
Yeah, it's
all powerful God, I don't think evil would exist.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I saw your debate with Dean live, and most of the conversation was the problem of evil, and
Yeah.
what I would say, because I could tell you the testimony from my testimony, and you'll probably understand how I came to this conclusion. It's that I used to be a Christian. I was a Christian when I was 21 years old, and I denounced it when I was 23, only a few months ago. But something that was very convincing to me was the cosmological argument for God's existence. It's that basically boils down to everything, including the universe, has to have a cause of some sort, and everything that has a cause boils down to something that has a conscious mind. And even if you were to say that the Big Bang is the way that the universe came into existence, what caused the Big Bang? I don't think that science has a proper answer for that. Deism.
Yeah, look, if he was not, yeah, you can be deist. That's what I'm saying. Like, I would have to be some sort of deist, because like I've looked into it, and Thomas Aquinas and stuff. Like, it's impossible for some sort of intelligent mind to not be behind the universe with fine tuning and cosmological argument. All these things, it's just too hard to figure out.
Well, the fine tuning argument actually applies to the creator itself, and it becomes a bit paradoxical.
Go
Like
ahead.
for instance, in the same way that there's like certain attributes of the universe that could be different and must be precise to attain life. There's also a limitless set of desires that God could have had that could have been different, that would not be conducive towards life, but he has specific desires that are conducive towards life. In the same way that we have specific parameters of the universe that are conducive towards life. So you could run the fine-tuning argument on the desires of the creator, meaning that this would imply a creator of the creator.
And the idea behind deism is that there is all this unknown stuff about the creator. Was the creator all that's required, all that's necessary are a couple of traits. And this is why I think that deism would actually, you're a younger man than me. I'm 24. I think that you're like 22 or something like that, or younger than that. And am I wrong? I saw you smile.
Oh, I'm 20.
Oh, you're 20. And as a younger man than
Waiting
me,
for that first beer.
Link to that verse. It was.
Oh, I said waiting for that first beer.
He can't drink yet, but he can. But he's known. He's old enough to be a heavy figure in like TikTok politics.
Bro, how can you not drink at 20, bro?
I don't know.
American
Ask
is just
America.
cooked, bro. Like it, bro. You can drink at 18 over here.
Actually, funny story.
As soon as you turn 18, you're drunk.
Probably want to drink in America. It used to be 18, but there were so many like young people, 18 through 20-year-olds, that were drinking and driving that the federal government was like, okay, this is so bad. We're just going to stop giving states money to build and maintain their roads unless they set their drinking age as 21. And then when all the states did it, it actually significantly reduced DUIs. So it doesn't have anything to do with like cognitive development, maturity, consent. All has to do with just reducing DUIs.
I thought the
Well,
prohibition
arguably that's
played something
cognitive
into it as
ability.
well.
I would say that I think that the existence of like Uber and just that alone kind of has matured, for lack of a better word, the minds of 18-year-olds who are going to in high school, drinking and driving their way home from school. To like,
Yeah.
I would say that like,
Also,
we
cops
could pop it back down to 18.
cops used to be much more lax on drunk drivers. You know, they just like take the alcohol, maybe like drive you home. There was not very strict punishment, but I feel like now, because there is stricter punishment, people are much more conscious of drunk driving. So, you know, yeah, lax those restrictions. Let me drink a beer.
You see that video of people in the 1980s being outraged that they couldn't drink and drive anymore?
Yeah, I think I know exactly what video you're talking about. All like the Republicans were like, this is communism.
I assume we're going to be a communist state because you can't have a beer when you want, you can't say what you want, you can't have none of this when you want no more. And I think, do you have a decent explanation? But we're back to the God argument, because if you really are going to get more serious about arguing for theism, then how would you say that what caused the universe into existence?
I'm unaware of the universe's cause. I think it's also possible that, you know, the existence of the universe is infinite, maybe. But, you know, I don't think that I need to posit, you know, an explanation for the conception of the universe to hold on to a non-theistic worldview. Just because I don't know what caused it doesn't mean that I can't rule out, either logically speaking, the Christian creator, or based upon some Bayesian probability.
And this is where something that I'm a nerd who's on this server way too much, and something that someone who is smarter than I am told me is that the worldview that is the most true is the one that holds the least amount of presuppositions. And if you were to just grant one presupposition into my worldview, and it's that God created the universe, and that if he doesn't have to be all powerful, he doesn't have to have any of this other garbage. He doesn't have
That's a weak back.
It's a what, Matt?
Nothing. I said Dean has a weak back.
He's a weak back. Oh, he's looking at your
My
profile.
the profile picture of the back is incredibly good.
Yeah, okay. Bubba's back is better.
How much can you deadlift?
Oh, me? I don't deadlift anymore. I was deadlifting about 2 years ago, and I smashed my finger.
How?
So now I don't deadlift anymore.
Oh,
I dropped like 300 pounds on it, and I had to get plastic surgery. And
Wait, how is that possible?
I dropped two. No, it wasn't from deadlifting, I assume.
how it was possible? Well, I was racking the weight by balancing the bar on a chair.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, the bar my finger got smashed in between the bar and the chair. Is crazy.
I
have a question. The guy that called me a weak back, are you Christian?
He is.
Sure am.
Matthew 26, buddy. Better turn that other cheek, all right?
Ooh.
My name's Matthew. Thank you very much.
His name's Matt. I was getting into presuppositions. It's that if you were to just the other thing that the same person told me was that if you just accept I was at the part where I say if you just accept one miracle in my worldview, then I can explain all other things. And then what me and you have a very similar look on the Christian God, in that because he is all powerful and he's also all good, then you would think that he certainly doesn't care about human affairs because there's so much suffering and there's so much sin, the biblical definition of sin in the world. And the idea that God is impersonal and does not interact with human affairs is exactly the worldview that I hold, and because of the other reasons, like least amount of presuppositions holds the most truth, and grant me one miracle and I can explain the rest of the universe or the rest of reality as we know it, then that's why I think deism with a D holds the most truth.
Yeah, I'm pretty sympathetic to deism. I think deism is pretty possible. I've considered deism before. Yeah, a lot of issues with the Christian God that I've come across, and it's like every explanation that I've heard in response to them, I've always either came off as incoherent, intelligible, or very sophist. So I think my main problem is exactly that, some conception of the POE. I'm not convinced that if all good, all powerful, all knowing God existed, that we'd have any evil at all. I think that this God
Same.
would be the destroyer of evil, and I don't think that the existence of this God is compatible with the existence
Yeah,
of
but
evil.
how would you define evil? What would you appeal to say that over there is evil?
What are you asking me?
Where do you get your
He's
morality
just
from?
Like,
Is the question.
yeah, I'm
Oh,
saying, where
yeah,
do you
you're
get
just
your
asking
morality?
me. Oh yeah, sure. So if you just want to ask me where I get my morality from, so I'm going to be a relativist. It's just going to describe my preferences. But I think that that's kind of like a sophist response to the argument, because if we could agree that something is evil, then all of a sudden there'd be a contradiction inside of your worldview. And like the question, well, how do you determine what's evil and what's not evil? Basically hopes to achieve the conclusion that, well, it's possible that, nothing is actually evil, and your weak conception of evilness is intelligible
Well,
and incoherent.
if a mind above the human mind doesn't exist and everything just is, there is no such thing as evil. The
Of course,
only
yeah.
way there is such a thing as it is. The only way there's such a thing as evil as if there is a God there to define it. Because we're all humans, and certain things that people do that we think are wrong or right, it's just us being a moral imperialist.
What
No,
if,
And
that's
we're
what
okay.
just
if,
Normativity
what
is
if we just,
normativity.
what if we just like project our own feelings onto it, and I call it evil?
Wait,
oh,
wait,
not this
even,
guy.
even, even, even this, real quick, Blake. So you're just saying that like moral relativism, subjectivism doesn't make sense. That's not actually evil. Okay, so there must be moral objectivism, and moral objectivism is only possible predicated on like a intelligent creator. So what's the contradiction between atheism and moral objectivism?
Well, if you're an atheist, you have to say that everything is relative, and I also did that when I was an atheist. I
Wait,
admitted.
why? Wait, why? Wait, you're not giving me the contradiction. What's the
What do you
what's the
mean?
contradiction between
Because
objective
there is
truth
no a mind
and
above the
atheism?
human mind to define what is right and wrong.
Okay, so can I please have the explicit contradiction between transcendentals and atheism, like objective truth? So
What
are
do
you
you mean
saying
by
that
that?
objective truth can only be rooted in the mind? Why?
No,
What's
objective
actually
truth
funny
can
about
only
this
be
position
written
is
by a god. It would have to be a high power.
All
If you
right,
funny
went to
that
about
like
this
implies
certain
that it's
position is
places
contradicting
in
the
the
otherwise. So what's the
is actually
contradiction?
the subjectivist position, right?
Well, Blake, I'm
Under
just
the
asking you
atheist
here.
worldview, right? If
yeah, well, everyone's
you're,
talking over me anyway. So.
if you're a non-naturalist atheist, right? Objectively speaking, you're just more of an objectivist than he is, right? Because your position, right, is an ineffable normative position, whereas Blake's position is entirely dependent on a mind. He is
Oh,
literally a subjectivist. It's
No,
yeah,
hilarious.
no,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah. No,
no, no,
that's
no,
that's always a fun argument. That's always a fun
bro.
argument.
Listen,
So,
listen.
but
When
like
I was
the best
agnostic,
critique.
I was a moral relativist. I said everything just is. There is no right or wrong. It's just the truth. If you went to countries in the third world and they did things that you thought were quite evil, you would be being a moral imperialist, judging them from the Western perspective.
So I just want to make a note.
Wouldn't that still be
You make that
moral
argument.
relativism?
Yeah, you're
Of course, it
imposing.
would be. That's correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
Hey, Blake, quickly, do you know what? Real quick, Blake, do you know what a contradiction is?
Yes.
What is a contradiction?
Peanut.
This sentence is a lie.
No,
Oh
peanut.
no, that's a
Peanut.
paradox. That's a paradox.
So
A contradiction is So a contradiction is a bachelor with a wife. There we go.
So a contradiction
example.
is the affirmation of a proposition and the denial of the same proposition. Okay, right? And a contradiction, is one of the ways, the predominant way that we know something is impossible to be the case, because contradictions can exist. So when you make this statement that moral objectivism or objective proofs are impossible to be the case if atheism were to be true, that means that you yield a contradiction between atheism and objective truths. And I don't think there's a contradiction between atheism and objective truths. So I'd merely ask you to give me the
I agree.
between
There is
atheism
objective truths in
objective truth.
atheism. Example is like math, or like just
Oh,
clear
okay.
contradictions. Like a bachelor cannot have a wife. You cannot be both on and off the table. Those are true things.
And that's why I deny your argument. Your argument is unsound for the reason that your premise, in which would suggest that moral objectivism is only possible under a God worldview, is false, as there's no contradiction of moral objectivism under a non-God worldview.
Yeah, what
Okay,
if there's a God that
what are you
doesn't-
appealing to get your morality? What are you appealing to? Yourself?
What if there's a God that
Master
doesn't
of
care about morals? That's like a creator God, the Spinoza God or whatever, right? But like
like doesn't even care about like anything, and it's like not a moral god or anything. Like, what if that were to exist? Like,
And well, the thing is,
I don't know, bro. We're only talking about the Christian God right now.
well, the thing is, Blake,
like,
Blake, the thing is that not only is there no contradiction entailed in the worldview of atheism, it's also just a mischaracterization of what evil in morality is. Morality derives from human behaviors, and the difference between atheism and theism is that you're saying that your morality, a thing which is defined by human behaviors, comes from an external human mind.
No, but it's not. It's not my morality. It's the morality of the Creator.
Under a subjective morality, the only difference is that we are saying that our morality, a thing which comes from human behaviors, comes internally with the human mind. And
yeah, of course.
So when
just
Dean
moral
said,
relativists.
when Dean says that his morality is based off of his preferences, which I also think is a false way to put it, but we can get to that next probably, is that he's just saying that this is what he defines as morality. You are saying this is what God defines as morality.
Wait,
Yes, exactly. But he made the claim we can tell what is evil. You cannot tell what is evil in a godless world. Everything just is. There is no bad or evil. What are you appealing to say that's evil? Are you appealing to Western society? Are you appealing to your own brain?
Subjective morality means internal to the human mind, not external to the human mind.
Exactly.
So
that's how you be an atheist. Everything is relative.
Wait, but again, okay, so two things. A, the POE is an internal critique. So it has actually literally nothing to do with whether or not Dean or Bubba or me or anybody else can give an adequate analysis of evil or good, right? Because it's an internal critique. So you're just missing the point in the first place. This is like saying, the atheist
it would still be an internal
responding to the
critique,
cosmological argument with like, oh yeah, well, how can infinity exist? Well, it doesn't matter, right? You're making an internal critique.
Joe, the thing that still makes it an internal critique, because you can define evil with the definition which Christians define as evil. You can define suffering as the way that Christians define suffering. God allows
appealing to
God
something.
allows
You have to
suffering
appeal to
and sin, so he cannot be all good.
You're not appealing to anything because it's an internal critique, Blake. Nobody's appealing to anything.
About?
I could describe what he's explaining. So the problem of evil, so let's say the logical problem of evil attempts to derive a contradiction between the existence of anything evil and the existence of an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-good God, right? And when Blake says, well, it's an internal critique, basically, we're assuming your view of reality. You describe something evil that you believe exists, and because you also believe in this all-good, all-knowing, all-powerful God, we yield a contradiction from that, given the LPOE, or at least try to, right? So our conceptions of morality, what I think is good and bad, is completely irrelevant to the contradiction that I hope to yield from an evil event that you view as an evil event, and your conception of the Creator.
No, we both view the same things as evil because we're both raised in the same society at the same period of time. If we were raised 600 years ago, maybe we'd think killing babies is good. It's just because we're both in the same point of time. We obviously
maybe if you read the Old Testament, you'd think killing babies is good. What about those Amalekites?
Blake, how do you define evil? Like,
how do I define evil? Things I do not like relative to me.
Oh, I thought that you
How
were
is that different from?
That's very subjective.
From Dan? How is it different from Dan?
Wait, what do you mean? I just, bro. That you asked the word. How do I use the word I? Did you say how does God, or did you say how does I?
Bro, dude, you cannot say that you think that morality is impossible to exist without a creator, and then say that you're a Christian and you believe that morality is completely derived from this creator, and then say that you hold a completely different conception of morality apart from the creator.
Yeah, it's contrary. Yeah.
How is that contrary? What?
Oh my god, dude.
Bro, this guy's a fucking idiot.
Okay,
whatever. He's really
here's the thing.
Dean, the only problem that I have with your description of morality is when you say that is derived from your preferences. Because would you use preferences and the things which you like synonymously?
I think that things that I like can be a preference, but I don't think alike is synonymous with the term preference.
I see it as, I do use those two words synonymously, but I don't want to get into a game of semantics, because kind of like how I can prefer some things over the other. Like I can prefer spaghetti over, I don't know, pizza. And that implies that my preferences can change on a dime. Like I can prefer pizza tomorrow if I were to be craving it. But you can't do that with morality. You can't just prefer to say evil as a good thing. You can't just prefer on a dime to say that rape is a good thing.
Well, okay, so the reason that you can't prefer to see evil as a good thing is because I define good as something that should occur, and I define evil as something that shouldn't occur. So in other ways, you're saying that I can't prefer something that shouldn't occur as something that should occur. And the reason that I can't do that is because it's contradictory. That's like saying that I can't see a squared circle. So you're right.
Yeah.
Well, he's like saying that it shouldn't shift either, right? Like that it should stay, if it's objective, it should stay consistent.
Yeah, and you did well to define what you see as what is good. It's what you think should occur. But still, by using the word prefer, you would say that I prefer for murder not to happen can still be seen as that can flip on a dime if it's something that you prefer or if it's something that you like. And I know I use like synonymously, but I'm trying to use the word prefer. What I think would be a better definition would be it is the way that you are conditioned to believe. You can't just change the way that you are conditioned to believe on a dime, which is why I say that what I see as good is what I was conditioned to believe is good.
Well, I think that all that you're describing is that you believe your moral preferences have been conditioned, but ultimately speaking, you still derive moral conclusions from your preferences.
Deriving moral I don't use the word prefer in the definition of morality at all. It's the way that what I am conditioned to believe, not what I prefer to believe.
Well, I have a question. So you don't think that your morality is derivative of your preferences, right?
I believe that it's the conclusion which I draw from the way I was conditioned. So the short answer, no.
So if you had a preference that murder was good, would you still think murder is bad? Because your morality isn't consequential of your preferences.
See what I mean? God of Joe confirmed what?
I'm trying to see what.
Wait, I'm trying to slow down. Bubba, are your preferences? Oh my! Now I just lost the. Now I just can't pronounce that word. Are your preferences?
Can you repeat that? I have a slow brain.
Are your preferences conditioned?
Your preferences are conditioned? No, I don't use... Preferences aren't used in your belief systems. It's like a dean preferring to be a Democrat rather than it's like saying that dean prefers to be a Democrat instead of a Republican.
Well, I think that you're just describing different
you don't believe you choose your beliefs, right?
You can. I think that dean, even as left as he is, can be conditioned into being a Republican. It'd be a very long, tedious, insanely long
You can go
process.
to school.
But,
you can go to school for a belief, but you can't. That's like your only way of choosing a belief. You can't like actively choose a belief, right? Like,
you can. You would conclude was sort of, kind of, is my short answer to that.
Sorry, I'm just somewhat confused. If you're just saying, so here's the two criticisms, right? One is that you're just kicking the can down the road, right? If you're saying like, listen, preferences are something that you can flip on a dime, whereas this conditioning thing isn't. Okay, so what, right? Like, it just seems like both of them share the property of being able to be changed, right? There's no special thing here. You're just saying like one is on a larger time scale than another, and that doesn't seem to be particularly.
Yeah, it's under the problem of when Dean said that his morality is just what he prefers, because I don't prefer to. Oh no, I'm not. Trying to.
But your preferences are going to be a consequence of your conditioning, so it doesn't really matter.
Precisely.
Yeah, it's what school you prefer to go to, right? Like,
here, if my taste buds are set in stone to enjoy pizza instead of spaghetti, is that preferred of me, or is that just the way that my taste buds were?
I would argue
you're gonna prefer those things because of your conditioning, right?
Well, no, it's like because of the conditioning of your taste buds, right? The consequence.
Yeah, I mean, conditioning is just going to be a priori here. Your preference is going to be something consequential.
In the case of taste buds, like it's the way that you were just kind of like born to be tasting these things, right? You can't just be conditioned to like your taste buds.
But like, listen, I think the point
for pizza is what you said.
If I slap you every time you eat pizza, you're gonna not like it.
People's taste buds are conditioned throughout their life, dude, and then they prefer things later on, right? As a consequence.
I don't know how true
Wait,
that is
There's
about a
people
battle.
who want to like spicy food more, and they eat spicy food more. They eat spicy food more, and they like spicy food more. Like people literally actively do that.
Just to explain what is saying, because I think he's brought up the most valuable point on the subject. So, assuming that you have unchangeable taste buds for the entirety of your life, and because of these unchangeable taste buds, you think that spaghetti tastes better than pizza. Right, well, the argument is that, because of the parameters set of your unchangeable taste buds, you're yielding this consequence that you have a preference for spaghetti over pizza. So, like, a preference is consequential of maybe like certain conditions, right, or conditioning. So the argument is, because of your conditioning, you've yielded the conclusion that murder's bad, right? And that conclusion, murder's bad, is just a preference that you hold.
For the sake of argument, I can grant that and say that I think that using taste buds did fall apart as an analogy, because like taste buds are a lot more of a biological thing, but a belief system, which is more of a thought process, is something that we should more or less be appealing to rather than taste buds. And
pedophiles always taste bad.
Oh God.
Yo, dude, can you approve my cam, please?
I mean,
Thank
even
you.
so, your belief system's going to be conditioned on your experiences, and so you're going to prefer like the Christian God over maybe like the Islamic God, right?
More or less. That's kind of like what Curveball said a second ago, where if I were to slap you in the face every time I were to hold pizza in front of your face,
So what's wrong with Dean's definition?
That wouldn't.
I mean, I'd still probably like it though. Pizza's pretty good.
As I say, if I were to slap you in the face every single time I presented you with pizza, that wouldn't make pizza taste any worse. It would just mean that you would be scared of pizza. You would be conditioned to be afraid every time you saw pizza. That's what
I don't know. I think your taste buds are affected by your associations with that food, and I do think that like food you have an aversion to will start to taste differently for you.
Think alcohol. Think alcohol and throwing up. All right.
Yeah, I think alcohol and throwing up. It's like I think alcohol and I think party.
Well, okay, I don't know if this.
What about coffee? So coffee, coffee's an example of something that like a lot of people want to.
Conditioning is explanatory behind X, behind preferences. That doesn't mean, and my understanding, this is what you're saying, Dean, as well, right? That doesn't mean that they're exclusive to one another, right? You're just confusing the two concepts. Like if I make an argument, right, that Socrates is a man because all men are mortal, and I'm like, no, guys, Socrates isn't a man, sorry, Socrates isn't mortal because all men are mortal. Well, no. There's a conclusion that comes from the argument, so you're kind of confusing
circular arguments. Yeah,
I think no. It's not that it's circular. That's not what I'm saying. You're just confusing two concepts. That's it. That's all I'm saying. So preferences being downstream from another thing doesn't mean that preferences are distinct. Actually, it means the exact opposite. It means that they are distinct. That's what I'm trying to communicate. So saying that preferences being normative. What I'm saying is preferences being normative isn't contradictory to the fact that you might be conditioned to have preferences. That's all I'm saying.
Also, I'll let Dean respond to that. And I also think I kind of want to actually kind of concede and agree with Dean with a part that he's saying about preferences being derived from your conditioning. And the reason I had a problem with that to begin with was because people like to say it's just your preferences. To me, preferences just means what you like and what you don't like. Do you like pineapple on pizza or you don't? And then you can like it tomorrow. It can flip on a dime. That was my issue with it. But I think when you say that what we just said, which was your preferences are derived from your conditioning, that still fits entirely with everything in my worldview about morality.
Yeah, then also preferences don't have to flip on a dime. I have a preference to love my girlfriend, and I feel like in order for that to change, you'd probably take a breakup and 7 months of depression. So, not all preferences could change on a dime. Is this only a
hate murder? Like, is that what it is?
Well, there are people that actually there are people that do enjoy murder. That's the thing. Like, there's serial killers. There's Jeffrey Dahmer. There's people that just enjoy it. They were conditioned to believe that it's okay.
There'll be a preference on their end. They'll be preferential. Right?
Is this
I prefer to hurt women instead of like love them or something like this.
Is this only like a place to like debate like theism? Because I'm looking for like some abortion debates. Is there anywhere
There
in the
is an
server
abortion
that does
debate.
that?
Oh, that'll happen. Dude, that happens here all the
There's
time.
Killing. The reason why I think killing, when it's wrong to the individual because it deprives them of a future like ours, right?
So then why do you value brain dead patients? They don't have a future like ours.